And we're going to do using intelligent models. So contrary to some of the other things we've heard today, we're getting exposure to a hell of a lot of good models, pretty good geometry, and lots of data. And I want to talk about some of the little innovations that all add up to big innovation or big benefit to projects. So I'm going to bring it from 30,000 feet down to ground level. So before I start this, I work for PDC as General Manager BIM, and PDC is about a 400 odd man company that, lots of odd men, who do structural steel detailing for, mostly in Australia, for mining, oil and gas infrastructure. So they're across a range of products like Tekla, PDMS for piping, Pro Steel for mechanical engineering, and headquartered in Perth, office in Brisbane where I sit, and a big modelling studio in Manila, offices in Vancouver and New York. While we're mostly focused on mining and some building work in Australia, the focus in USA is all about high-rise and working on a lot of those. So, and it's that sort of combined knowledge and experience that we're now having the benefit of getting access to the different way people are thinking, the different way people are using software, that's probably changed our whole approach in the last couple of months. So this is just a typical BIM workflow on a building. So at the moment around Australia, you're getting most people in Revit, usually a structural steel guy in Tekla. Everything goes into Navis, and we get Navisworks models published out of that, and then we look at a lot of the model uses we can do and the data mining, the other things we can do with that data. So one of our big projects at the moment, we have about 160 models. So I'll take a step back. In fact, so what I want to talk about is when we're all in CAD, one of the things we did in our CAD offices was build smart blocks and things like that, and do a little bit of scripting to make things more easier to do, smarter, faster. And as we've gone into BIM, a lot of that's disappeared because the software is a little bit more complicated. You don't have access to the API, you don't have people with that level of experience. But in fact, there's a lot of add-ons and apps out there that can improve your workflow and what you're doing. And that's mostly what I'm going to talk about today and the benefits you can get out of that. So in terms of our BIM management role, we have 160 models from the design consultants and subcontractors that they've got to upload every Thursday night. As Navisworks files, we come in Friday morning, start downloading them, and even though it's not that hard to get them, as you know with Navis, you want to keep the links to everything, you've got to copy and paste them, so there's time in that. And then you go through, and what we do with a lot of smart tools is we break those models up, we rebuild them, we cut them into levels, we colour them, we audit them, we append data to them so they can be used for various uses. So, like I said, we have 16 specific use models. We publish out of all those each week. So we break them up into federated models, call coordination models, clash testing models, level by level, logistics models, work package models, FF&E review and approval models, door review and approval models. Anything we can think of, or the builder wants to, since we work for the head contractor, to expedite his management and his approval processes. And those models contain over 1,400 preset design and construction coordination views, and they're distributed to over 400 people each week for different uses. So this is all fantastic. The trouble is we have to do that on a Friday, and we have to export all those reports and everything on the Friday in order for the subbies, the consultants, to review them over the weekend and attend a coordination meeting on a Monday. And at the moment, it's taking us around 27 hours. So 3 people on a Friday just to handle that level of use of the models, because we do quite an extended use of the models. So the reality is, as BIM managers, what we're trying to do is innovate, do clever things, and instead what we're finding, we're spending a lot of time being clerical people, just doing basic processing. Which wasn't good enough, and the contractor probably isn't very happy about paying us to do that, so we're always trying to think out how else can we do something. So we started looking at how we could automate this, and we came up with a little routine we called BIM-Flow. And so at the moment the consultants and subbies do their work on a Thursday. They drop it into a sync file which attached to Buzzsaw. It grabs those files at about 10 o'clock that night and starts transferring them across to our sync file. and we would come in the morning and transfer them out of that sync file into our working folder. Now we've got a little routine that does that for us. So it actually starts with the consultant sync file and takes over. As the models come through, it runs the audits, resets the views, reconstructs the model to the way we want it, runs all the Navisworks tasks, the clash detection, exports data and publishes PDFs. And the theory being that we would come in the morning and it's all there ready to go. What it did, it cut it from about 27 hours back to 9 hours, which is a substantial reduction. So we're very, very happy with that. We just cut 2 people off the job on that day. Now, and that's the sort of, you look at that pie chart and you can see the little wedges is where we started to make those savings. So it was tremendous saving to us and to the project and to the contractor who's paying us. It's all great. It works in theory. BIM-Flow relies on the exports produced by the consultants and the subcontractors being correct and being in accordance with the process manual and the process requirements. And still the thing, I suppose, the industry's not very good at yet is QA. BIM is a process and models do have to be produced in a certain way and exported in a certain way to be able to handle them. So, and that was our big problem. So we would actually run all this process overnight, come in and think this is fantastic, open it up, and in fact we had to restart the whole process again. So then we wrote a little bit of scripting. And we developed our own little export routine. So when you go into Navis and you've got your add-on button there to use your Navis exporter, create another little button, PDC export. So now all the consultant is required to do is hit that. It takes over and automates the process. So it opens Navisworks exporter. The settings are all there where we want them. We've done that through an XML file and proceeds to publish the file, load it into the sync file, and Buzzsaw takes over, and at the other end, off we go again. So, trialling that at the moment, hopefully if that works, we'll actually get the whole process down to about 2 hours. So we're going from 27 to 9, and hopefully now down to 2 with quality assured. So again, it's just those little things, and it's not about how you created your model, it's not about all the other smarts you're getting with your software or other things, it's just the little things that we can start to claw some time back and get those benefits. And that's the process. So literally click on a PDC export button and off you go. One of the other things, and I'm going to jump around to several just little examples I'm going to show you here, and one in our MEP coordination and clash detection. So obviously during the design phase we're running all our clash tests pretty well based on systems. So system against system, system against architecture, etc. Obviously, when we changed to the subcontractor and the site role, we had to change our whole philosophy because that wasn't appropriate necessarily because we've got different contractors doing different things. And as you can see here, we've got a mechanical fit-out contractor working in one part and a mechanical plant room contractor working in another. So it's not system. We're starting to look more about how we can break it up per contractor or other ways. And we'll look at what we would normally do in a clash test and a series of clash tests like that. And yes, you can go through and you can start to group those. But also then we started to play with it and look at how else can we expedite it and how else can we make that information better for the contractor. And it's just the little things again. We can start breaking those clash tests up. This is all automatic. This is press the button and it's all done for you. Break it up per level so that people can start to see, okay, I only want to look at this level. Take it a step further, break it up per level and break it up per discipline or break it up per contractor. So you can look at that level and just talk to the group the clashes according to the contractor, or I can reverse that and just break it up per contractor and within the contractor's area talk about what he's got on each level so you can start to focus in your discussion with them. Again, just a little bit of time saving. Other little things, design reviews and models. So we had a project where, in this particular project, the doors finished or coloured the same way as the walls or floors in the room. A lot of that information was in the model in various places, or it was in schedules, and what was very, very hard was the coordination. Now, there's something like 5,500 doors in the project, and they're being procured from the UK, so it had to get right, and we're having a lot of trouble, or the contract was having a lot of trouble with the coordination. So it's obviously very easy to, if you can sort the data out correctly, and just colour code these rooms and colour code the doors and see what the issues are. And obviously we have an issue there with circled where we've got the wrong colour or finish on that door that doesn't match the floor. So we just start rearranging And start put various little property tabs into Navisworks where we can actually control this, and give the design manager in charge an area in which he can go through, control it, approve it or check it or tag it, which then can be returned to the consultant or subcontractor and either imported back into Revit or tracked through a GUID. And again, it's just all it is just attaching data, exporting data, generally out of Navis into an Excel sheet, attaching it to other data that's come through Excel or whatever format and re-importing it back in. The same sort of thing when you start to look at, you start to look at the balance that has to be struck between the models and how they're being used and how the data and the detail is being used for a particular use. So as you know, when you go into some of these models, there's just an incredible amount of data, and there's a lot of data tabs, and that's a small one there. You can get 2 or 3 times the amount of data tabs across there. So it's very much, again, about how do you focus people? How do you just give them the data that they need for their particular use? So we started playing with that and looking at little buttons and what we could do, and started building specific data tabs in Navis. And again, it's an automated process. Once you've set it up, it'll do it every time the models are generated. So if a particular person or a particular design manager or work package manager wants to just look at something, then we can pull the data out of the other tabs and just put it into that tab so he knows that's the one to go to. Or you can reorganise it. You can reorganise it almost alphabetically in any order he wants that information. And then if you really want to get clever, you start to delete the other tabs. So when he gets his export, he only sees his tab or 2 or 3 tabs that he wants. So again, it's just about making it easier, quicker for people on site. Same sort of thing, again, just another little example where we had, always in the doors, there's an enormous amount of information attached to the doors, and a lot of it around security issues with doors, door hardware, furniture. And when we're doing the design managers on site or package managers are doing a lot of review, yes, we've gone through and we've checked all that and we've validated that data. But for a lot of it, they just don't need that level of data. So again, it's simply about building other tabs, just bringing the information down to what the particular person or use requires, and in that instance, that was all that particular person required. It doesn't have to see the rest of the data. The data's there, but in the views or the submodels that we've given back to them, that's all they want and that's all they're seeing, and they're just saving that time of worrying about it. And then once you've got that, and it makes it very easy to start doing the other things, looking at fire-rated doors and locations. One of the big wins we had, so we're lucky that we work with contractors or a couple of contractors that very much have embraced BIM, and the clever ones are the ones that have embraced BIM and realised it's better for them if they get their clients to embrace it. So they like to get us involved in working with the clients and working out how we can maximise the interaction with the client. And one big project, the client is so liking that idea that they've embedded themselves with the site team and used the model for all approvals, and then constantly come back and say, what else can we do? And this was the one where the contractor was being held up. He's trying to fit out the floor of a building, but there's a lot of outstanding RFIs. And the client was hammering, couldn't understand why he wasn't just getting on it despite the RFIs, and he was trying to explain that the RFIs were over such a spread there was no clean workface to start from. So all we were asked to do was, how can we do that visually so the client can get it? So we take a simple floor plate, we're just using the architectural rooms or spaces, bring in a database of RFIs, they're all attached to rooms, and take it back in. Now, all those rooms have RFIs attached to them. And the client can start to see, well, you know, okay, you can't start in that corner, you can't start over here, I need to prioritise my RFI approvals in this particular direction in order to allow the contractor to proceed. And it got them talking clearly and understanding what the issues were. So you click on one of those and over there it's got the list of RFIs that are active on that room, whether they've been or they've been closed out. Again, nothing complicated. These are just simple little tools that most people could do if they searched around or commissioned somebody just to do a little bit of work. We're a bit frustrated with as BIM management consultants was a lot of the talk about 5D, but in fact the very little use of 5D. And when we talked to a lot of the quantity surveyors and estimators, and it was all around trust and the ability to trust the model and the ability to trust the data, but also the ability to sort the data. So we're very much of the belief that data's there now. It is disorganised, it's all over the place, it might not be correctly coded, but it's there, it can be fixed. It's just how do you access that data to a point where people particularly are confident that they're going to be able to use it. So we started developing a couple of little routines, an integrated routine, and it's just sorting information. So it goes, again, using the property buttons, go through and create a new property button, cost X data, and start, so talking to the QS or the estimator, find out what data they actually want to use. A lot of it they don't, so we're just streamlining the process, bringing in just the data they want to focus on. Running append data, so we can actually run a QSI, attach a QSID code if they want that. A lot of people don't now, but we can attach whatever code you want. If they want to attach a cost, and most people don't, but that's an opportunity. Some of the estimators we're looking at, they can, again, through just attaching an Excel spreadsheet, and we can attach the data. And then we customised a little DWFX exporter to run an export through CostX data tab, so that's the only information that was exporting, making it CostX friendly. And then we developed a little routine, so utilising a BIM import template from iConstruct, which is our little package, and it automatically matches the CostX data tab to the iConstruct routines into the CostX process. So again, it's simply about making things easy and simple. So I think what we've tended to focus on is the authoring, which is fair enough because that's the massive part, and then we're all trying to get data in there, we're trying to understand what data we should be putting in there, but in fact a lot of it's there. It's just about now being smart about how we access the data and how we use the data. This was a little one just to show you, so our interaction, this is our development team. A lot of our work is in mining and infrastructure, and because of that cross-fertilisation with other packages, and we learn so much, and this is one that is in fact just being developed for our mining guys, and we're going to draw it straight into our construction guys. So it's a little one, and we start looking at, there's a big piece of landscape being used over here that we wanted to get rid of when we look at some of these projects. So we're just looking at a cane crusher here and how we can start to access some of the asset management information during the project on that. So we just developed a little data wheel. And literally when we go through that, you can click on that and it'll give you access to various bits of information. In this case, just that way you can access your maintenance schedules. You can go back, have a quick look at your photographs. Again, all that is data manipulation. That data is there, it's just somewhere else. This is just about linking the data back to simple tools in your model so you get quick access and quick understanding. And that's it, and I wasn't angry.